All right. No, so we got dinosaurs going on. No. So, anyways,
Is my laundry still out? Yeah. Okay. Okay.
yeah. Welcome everyone to the 10K Rum podcast. My name is Amos Joseph. I'm joined by my co-host Brook Potter in the UK. How's it going, Brook?
It's going well, Amos. Welcome to Crazy Town. As I said in our last podcast, we're back in lockdown out here in Wales. And our, benevolent dictator has decided what is essential and non-essential for us to be able to buy in the shops. Tesco is like the supermarket out here, like to your Walmart and such. And you can only buy essential goods determined by a bureaucrat. So as I say, this is a great teaching lesson for what socialism is like, basically making sure everybody is miserable. How are you doing, Amos?
Wow, that's grim.
Yeah, pretty
Good.
much.
Yeah, I'm doing good. It's starting to snow again. It's our second snow of the year. Yeah, I could see that look from our guest. We had snow earlier in the week, and I'll say this: I almost got into I almost got into an accident that would have totaled my car
Wow.
because of the snow. And in the nick of time, I basically like drifted out of the way. I should have had some Tokyo Drift playing when I did it, but anyway. So no, and now we have snow again, but it's more sticking to the ground rather than the streets. The streets are still warm enough that it's just this like nice wet road. But other than that, um, yeah, we're like in the light lockdown that is the U.S. So real quick before we get into everything else. We want to, of course, thank everyone for joining us in the show. And do check out, subscribe to the channel, subscribe to us on our podcast, check out our previous episodes, share this episode with someone you think that'll enjoy it. More importantly, we've got, if you want to support the show in any way beyond the initial, those basic things you can do that we recommend you do check us out on Subscribestar, where you can check on our monthly pledges, where you can support us for anything from $1 a month to $25 a month, which of course brings us to our good friend Edmundo that does support us $25 a month. Shout out to him. And then we of course have our Raw Takes series on there for our $5 a month people, where you can check in and like watch sort of extra content where we talk about different things that are
Not family friendly.
Depends, yeah. Like I could probably go more in depth as to what happened with this almost accident.
Bitches and coke, right? Hoes and coke, and all the meth you can eat.
As libertarian as it gets. So
with guns.
Exactly. So, and then of course we have our sponsor, Tactical Soap, where you can purchase all the different types of soap. I have a whole shipment of it coming. And then there you use the coupon code 10K Rum to get 10% off. And then there's a little bit that goes to us as a way to support the show. But other than that, we got nothing else going on. No. We do have a guest on, a returning guest.
A blast from the past, almost.
Yeah. And one of the few awesome people that contributed to our 100th episode celebration video, Caitlin Cloven. How's it going, Caitlin?
It's going good. Thank you for having me. I'm happy to be here.
You're looking, of course, very refreshed and very awake.
Hey man, I'm on a campaign. I don't get much sleep. I'm not human until after election day.
Yeah. And for you, it's going to come right down to the wire, isn't it? You're going to be working right up to the day.
Yes, and then afterwards for a little bit too. Yeah.
The wrapping it up. So, for everyone who's of course joining us has seen it, we had Caitlin on a while ago. I think we've only had one time before. I think.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
We've had you in like other streams and stuff and talking about different things, but the last time we were talking, we had you on as kind of the person that was working with Think Liberty, and even I'm still, I guess, technically connected with that, but we not to mean anything. It just I was working with you on that, and then since then a lot has changed. And now you're basically the social media director for the Spike Cohen side of the Joe Jorgensen campaign.
Yes. So since last time, I was on. My career really kind of took off, which is awesome.
Congratulations.
I was initially the social media director for Jo Jorgensen, pre-nomination, and then post-nomination, I was also her social media director for about a month or so, and then I was moved over to Spike Cohen's team. So I've been running Spike Cohen's social media since the beginning of July. So yeah, that's been super fun. I mean, it's constant work. Like it never stops, but it's what I love to do. So, and I'm having a good time with it.
Would you say that there's a big difference from the work you were doing before to now working with a political campaign? What's the biggest difference between the two then?
Having to filter myself. That's a big one. Well, with this, there's a lot more that goes into it. So with Think Liberty and being libertarian, like there was elements of things that I had learned over the years that I had to, apply. But with this, it is the culmination of everything I have ever learned put into practice. So with Spike stuff, there's a lot more content marketing that I've had to learn and adapt to, and so we're using a lot more content marketing than I would be on, say, Think Liberty, because Think Liberty is more of a meme page. But with this, we have like achievable goals over several months, and there's advertising that goes into it. So advertising, content marketing, team building, and stuff like that. But there's a few things that are the same too. Like I can take the same team building skills I used on Think Liberty and use it for the Spike Cohen team. So it's kind of cool. Like using everything I've learned over the past 4 years, like finally using it in my career is kind of cool.
And even with working with you and Think Liberty, that's how I kind of got introduced into working within a campaign and working with also having new connections with a lot of people. A lot of people I've known kind of here and there, like people who are in the parties and such, but also people like of different areas that I've never met before. So definitely a lot of networking that sort of happened because of this. And probably even more so for you,
with some new people, because going from a one-person team running Joe's Media to nearly 160 overnight after she got the nomination. I had to work with people I'd never worked before, and like sometimes it didn't work out. Sometimes there was not that charisma of working together right away. But I found some breakout stars after the nomination. Like there's a handful of people that really, like, they came to the team, they busted ass, and they just look like they're my A team now. I'm taking them on future jobs as well now, and it's really cool how it all came together. And like there was people from every faction of the party coming in on and working on the same team, and we were very lucky. Like we avoided all the drama. There was no fighting, and we worked really well as a team.
Fantastic, and post-election, you have another job lined up. I don't know if you can kind of mention a little bit about that.
I can. So getting moved over to Spike's team, it kind of opened a door for me. So that was really cool. I was approached by Vermin Supreme's campaign manager.
The pony guy.
He wanted me to run his governor race. Like the social media for him running for governor in 2022. So I was like, yeah, definitely I'm on board for that. That's fine. But that has turned into something completely different now. So I'm going to be running all of the social media in the Vermin Supreme universe. So that is his personal brand, which we're creating. Basically, I wouldn't say out of nothing, but we're trying to get the decentralized, sporadic online presence from the last 10 years all into a centralized place. So that's kind of my job, is creating this personal brand for him. And then all of his political runs I'll be running, and the nonprofit institute that he created I'll be running, and his podcast, and like everything that falls under like the umbrella of Vermin Supreme I'm the social media director.
Everything under the boot.
Congratulations.
Very, very exciting. Like, it's such a huge job. I thought, running the presidential campaign would be like my dream job. It would be peak for me, but this is like 10 times bigger than that, and it's a really, really cool opportunity. Like, even if it wasn't Vermin Supreme, like, just a job of this magnitude is like a really big deal. So yeah, I'm very excited, and it's Vermin Supreme. Like, he's such an amazing person. Just like getting to know him and talking with him, like he's so cool to work with. So I'm very happy with that.
Congratulations again.
Thank you.
And just for our, I guess for our viewers and our listeners too, is just one thing that even I learned in the kind of, especially during the beginning, like right after the nomination, is for like, this is just normal for you, probably going to be pretty much the entire time, was for how much work you put in. You like, so I'm saying for anyone who's listening or watching, noticing maybe you're really tired.
I am, yes.
Yeah, and it's not meant to be like and it meant to be. It's just it's to kind of to show that, like, I know when I first started working with you and such, like having to like message you and like, because I'm like, okay, I was doing things, and I'm like during that initial run, like push to kind of take things off, and it was like, oh well, losing some sleep, and you were like, oh yeah, but times 10 for me, pretty much. Like,
I mean, how are you balancing that? Because you are a mom, right?
Yes.
And you have a house to run, and you got fabulous dinosaurs in the back there to clean and other things. For our listeners who can't see, how are you finding that balance? Are you finding that balance?
I struggle with finding the balance, but I think I do okay. So before the nomination, like, this was like a maybe 2 hour a day kind of job. Like, it was, I was paid what I was doing. After the nomination, it immediately turned into,
Like
okay, so the
18
first
hours a
week
day.
it was almost 20 hours a day.
Wow.
Of solid work, building everything out. And then it slowed down to 16 hours a day, every day, until I was moved over to Spike's team. So then it went down to about 14 hours a day. And that's continued until now. I've been working about 14 hours a day, every day, for several months at this point. That's been, it takes a toll. Like, it's good that I love my job. So that's, it's not like I'm working a million hours for something that I don't like. So loving my job definitely factors into that. But I try and strike a balance. So I'll take, a couple hours here and there to like devote to just cleaning the house, and then I always break up those hours with my kids. So my kids always come first. If they need something, I stop what I'm doing. I help my kids. But I've had to rely on my fiance for quite a bit as well, just throughout this, because it is a campaign. It is temporary. It's not like this is a forever job. If that was the case, I would have to back up a little bit. But
yes,
with it being a temporary thing, like I made the decision to make it a priority, at least for now. And then, but yeah, like, I got my kids back in school. So I'm not homeschooling this year, but they're in a private school, and they're actually doing really, really well academically. It seems that they found what they needed. Homeschool was good. They seem to be doing much better in the private school setting. So their class sizes are really small. They've made friends, and that's really exciting for them. They haven't had friends for a while, being homeschooled and being in a new state. And so yeah, we've got them in the private school, and we work with them every night on reading and skills and things like that. So I've struck that balance. So like, we have our evening time with the kids, and some things struggle sometimes. Maybe I don't get the laundry done every single day, but we're hanging in there.
Now, and also the traveling that you've done too.
Oh God, yeah.
You're
So enthusiastic.
for the listeners, her eyes kind of bugged out a bit, like, oh yeah, the traveling. Because I mean, you like I've on during the campaign of like met up with you guys in different places, or at least meeting up with parts of the team. But you've gone to like way more. You like like especially with Spike's bus tour, you followed the bus for more than like a couple stops. For me, it was like, oh okay, Iowa, then Nebraska, and then we're good. You were like, all across one coast, and you all across another coast, and then you flew down south and went across there for a little bit.
Yeah.
And
I think I've been to 8 or 10 different places for him.
Different states.
Yeah. Yeah, there was quite a bit of travel there.
Do you enjoy
In the
traveling?
summer, like I do. I mean, I love hanging out with Spike, and like that's like a big part of me traveling and stuff. Like I love Spike. I love working for him. I love doing his social media, and just getting to know him over the last several months has been like one of the coolest things ever. Like I'm personal friends with a VP candidate. How many people can say that? Like that's super cool. But yeah, no, going out to these things, like it's really helpful for me, because I can get there, I can get with the candidate, I can, get pictures for social media, I can do the videos and things that I need. But also just like spending time with the candidate helps me do my job better, so I can speak in his voice. So the more time I spend with him, the more I can create that, Spike Cohen filter whenever I'm writing for him or doing his social media. So that's really helpful. But also traveling is just like super fun. So I try and go as much as I can. It usually has to stick to weekends, with kids being in school and stuff. But yeah,
sure,
it's exciting.
Yeah. I'm just imagining when you said speak in his voice, I'm thinking that'll be an interesting Halloween costume for you.
So funny story.
Here we go.
Chrissy Wickers, who is his, she writes his press releases. Her and her husband are going as Joe Jorgensen and Spike Cohen, but her husband is going as Joe Jorgensen.
Oh boy.
And I had actually brought up to my fiance, I said, we should get the kids to go as Joe Jorgensen and Spike Cohen. Like, just imagine my daughter in like a little wig with bangs and a little pantsuit, and it would be like the cutest thing ever. And my son, as Spike, he shot that idea down.
Does he have like the shorter amount of hair to kind of pull off like the Spike look?
He did a few weeks ago. Now it's getting longer again.
Boy.
His hair grows like crazy.
Oh, that's all right. So I mean, you did say that you started off with the Joe Jorgensen campaign.
Yeah.
You met with her. Let's kind of walk through it. What was your experience meeting Joe? Maybe, just some insight, and then let's talk about meeting Spike and, of course, the big man, VS, Vermin. How did that go?
Yeah. So I met Joe for the first time in February. So this is pre-nomination. I was running her stuff. I went to the Iowa State Convention. She was going to be there for a debate. And she got there the last day of the convention. I had been there the whole time, because I was also pulling double duty running a table for Think Liberty. So whenever she showed up, I went up to her and, introduced myself, and I was like, hi, I'm Caitlin. And she just kind of treated me like a supporter. She's like, oh, hi, Caitlin, nice to meet you. And I was like, no, I'm your Caitlin. She's like, oh, and then it was immediately like a huge hug, and she was so sweet. She took me out to dinner, and we talked about just all kinds of things, and she's very sweet, down to earth, wonderful lady. And then Spike was a little different, because he's not like Joe Jorgensen. So it was I got switched over right at the beginning of July, and then we had our national convention. So before nomination, before he was Vermin Supreme's running mate, I didn't really know him that well. Like, I knew him from like podcasting world, I only knew him as the podcaster who used the triple parentheses around his name whenever he was live, because he's Jewish and he always like
Wow.
to play on that, just doing it ironically. But that's all I knew him as. I was like, the triple parentheses podcaster is running for VP. What? But like after getting to know him, and after he got the nomination, obviously like a huge fan. Like I was pushing for that pair up because I thought that he would bring something to the ticket that nobody else could, and I was right. But yeah, so we were at the national convention, and I'm trying to remember exactly where it happened. I think we went over to the convention hall, and like we had been texting or whatever. But yeah, we met, and I was just like, hey, it's me. Like, we were all wearing masks, and I had to like pull down my mask, and he's just like, yeah, I know it's you. Like, he's like, I know who you are. I was like, oh, okay, cool. Yeah, it was pretty funny. Like we talk about that one every time we meet up. But yeah.
Did you all go out for dinner after and have the same kind of experience, or?
Yes, actually. So we met at like a bar, so we were all just kind of like standing around drinking or whatever. But we did have a couple meals throughout that week while we were in Orlando. So yeah, it was quite the experience.
Excellent.
Yeah.
And finally Vermin Supreme, how did you, that must have
I
been
met
awestruck.
him a long time ago. So I met Vermin the first time I met him.
Was it at that one convention in Nebraska? The something.
Yes, that was
it called?
The Unconvention.
The Unconvention.
In 2018.
I remember that one. A lot of libertarians went to that one.
Yeah, that was the first time I met him. We did karaoke. We went out and did some drinking that night. I mean, what else do you do at a libertarian convention?
Literally any libertarian event is just drinking.
Yeah, pretty much. But yeah, no, we went out to karaoke, and we got to do karaoke with Vermin Supreme, and I got to wear the boot that night.
Really? Did it fit?
Yes, kind of. So, yeah.
Almost sounds like a euphemism.
But yeah, like that was my first like major introduction to Vermin Supreme. I mean, I knew like there was a guy with a boot on his head that ran for president all the time, but like getting to know him and like that whole night we were talking about like policy stuff and ideology and philosophy, and it was just like, holy crap, this guy's brilliant. Yes. Like I mean, it's not that I didn't expect him to be brilliant, but just having those conversations with him, it was just like, oh my gosh, you could just kind of like blown away. Like I'm having deep philosophical conversations with Vermin Supreme. Like it's very surreal. So we spent that time together, and that's when I met him. And then I saw him again in California the next year. I believe it was 2019, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it was. So California 2019, he remembered me from the year before, and we were chatting, and we talked about me possibly running his social media for running for president. And then, and so, yeah, we talked about working together in the future. We were discussing his president run, all kinds of really cool stuff. And I guess he messaged my page that I'm never on, and I had turned notifications off for, and I didn't see it till 6 months later.
Oh no.
So yeah, I could have been running his presidential stuff from the beginning, but it's cool. I missed it. I kind of felt like a turd for missing that message, but it's cool.
Obviously, you know how
I met him, and he's just awesome. Like he's very down to earth. He's very humble. He's all about like love and unity, and like it's almost like you have to meet him. He's just the most amazing person.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So now you're working with him right now, right?
Yes, I am. I
in
was
parallel
supposed to
with the
start
campaign too.
after election day, but the plans we discussed when we were talking about taking the job kind of morphed into something completely different. So I'm starting way early to help prep for that and build up infrastructure and teams and things. So I'm pulling double duty and doing 2 full-time jobs now.
2 full-time jobs, 2 kids, a whole house.
Dinosaurs.
Yeah.
Now, Caitlin, there is a story. It's a legend. Now, I of course am not privy to this, but you are part of a particular caucus of the Libertarian Party.
Oh no!
That has something to do with alligators and something. Maybe you could put the rumors to rest.
Okay, so every time every year at the national convention, they have a gala, and it's usually very stuffy.
A Libertarian convention, stuffy. I'm surprised.
No kidding. Yeah. There's kind of an open bar. There's like a ticket system. It's kind of weird, but everyone just kind of stands around and is very awkward, and nothing ever cool happens. So I was there with Spike's campaign manager, and we like really hit it off, like meeting for the first time there. Like, he's a really fun dude. We just really had a great time, and we really clicked right away. And we were talking about the gala, and I was like, look, I bought a really cool dress because like I stole my sister's prom dress, and it's like this kind of running joke with everyone. But yeah, so I had like my dress, and he was like, I've got a really crazy, almost trashy shirt that I could wear, and we could make this like prom. I was like, dude, this is Libertarian Prom, so this is perfect. So we turned the gala into the Libertarian Party trashy prom, and we just trashed it up. And not in like a bad way. Like, we kind of brought some life to the party. Like, they had a backdrop out front where it looked like people were taking like prom pictures. So we took some trashy prom pictures of like me and my beer bottle, and it was really funny. So we just really played that up, and we had other people coming in to do the same thing. So we got some life into the party. Like, we brought people out on the dance floor, and we got people actually dancing and having fun. And a lot of people came up to us after, and like, they said that it was really cool of us to, you know, kind of make it a little bit more fun than it already was. So yeah, there was that. And then we just got progressively more drunk after that. And it eventually turned into me and Matt wanting to go steal an alligator because we were...
I'm sorry, what?
Yeah. So
obviously very, very drunk. Very drunk.
Very, very drunk.
Yes.
Well, okay, so we were
Florida.
in Florida, and I wanted to, like, brought something up about like making headlines as Florida man and Florida woman. So I was like, dude, we could steal an alligator and throw it in the hotel pool.
You actually had this planned out, though, from what I remember you telling me.
Oh, we spent 45 minutes planning this, and it was...
You were gonna like go to the nearby park or something?
Because we had to go up to Spike's room, and we were doing like some work stuff while also hammered. So Spike was just like talking us through our plan because he was stone sober, and he was just like, so you're gonna go get an alligator, huh? So
you were gonna go to a park nearby or something, right?
It was 45 minutes away because that was the nearest state park, because we didn't want to steal like a private alligator.
Zoo alligator.
Are there a lot of private alligators in Florida?
Public alligator or something. I don't know. So the nearest park was like 45 minutes away. We were going to take one there, but we realized, shit, we're too drunk to drive. So we were going to call an Uber.
Very responsible.
Take us
Very,
to
very
the state
responsible.
park 45 minutes away, and then Matt was going to distract him while I gouged the gator and threw it in the trunk, and then the driver wouldn't even notice, obviously.
Yes. Something in the trunk. Don't ask.
Yeah.
Luggage.
So, yeah.
Alligator luggage.
That happened, and then it kind of turned into like, this is what anarchy is, throwing alligators in hotel pools. So, yeah.
What was the name of the caucus again? The trashy
The
prom?
Libertarian Party Trash Prom Caucus.
And there were like guidelines and stuff like that. There were
Yes, we
some
made 10
precepts.
rules, and none of them make any sense without context. And it's beautiful. And we never provide context. So, yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah. Now, do we want to do we mean like you said the result, the whole dancing and everything? I think someone took a video of that, didn't they?
Yes.
It's somewhere out there.
Famous
There's a video, but I can't. It's not that I
Dan
like.
Mott of Goulash Media, the one who makes all of the beautiful, amazing ads for Jordans and Cohen, got video of me and Matt dancing to Daft Punk.
And I can't. Unfortunately, I wouldn't be able to play because as soon as I play it, YouTube would probably like send me a strike of sorts. Yes. But it's basically it's you and the campaign manager just dancing, and it's like a really, really smooth like camera shot just going all around. And you got the dancing, and the 10 rules of the caucus pop up.
Yeah.
And then at the very end, it's Spike saying, obviously not literally, but but he's Spike at the end is like, "I'm Spike Cohen, and I approve this message."
Good shit. That was a really good time. Yeah, I remembered him like walking around with the camera and thinking, "Oh God, he's getting this on camera," and then I forgot about it. And then he posted that video in the caucus group.
Now, is this caucus going to go into 2022 and 2024?
Yes, we have a movement now. We started.
I feel sorry for the alligators.
At least 10 people are showing up to the next one with trashy prom attire.
Yeah, I'm going to bring that. The reason I asked for your shirt size, I'm going to bring you the official shirt that I made. I was going to try to get one to Matt, but he's not going to be there. So
yeah, he's starting law school again. So
for everyone who's because we didn't mention him like his by name, but Matt Hicks is the campaign manager for Spike. I'd say he's pretty darn close to like the real life the dude.
He is the Big Lebowski.
From the Big Lebowski.
Yeah, awesome. The Big Lebowski. Yeah, there's a picture of him and I like on when I first met him, and he's like the full pajama look, like the robe. He's got a beard, he's got shades, and I sent that to like my mom, and my mom she's having watched the movie because of my dad. She was like, "The Big Lebowski," and I'm like, "Yeah," and it's with me, But
that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it was pretty funny, but now I was looking in here. Now, okay, do we want to talk about this thing that we're talking about in this chat here, Brooke?
I mean, we cannot go on without discussing probably one of the most controversial moments of the Joe Jorgensen campaign. I know we don't have you for very much longer, but I'm sure there was
on a spicy note.
Yeah, there was an infamous tweet that came out that was basically the tweet heard around the world. Even out here in the UK, the Libertarian Party was quite taken back, and it had to do. I don't have the tweet pulled up.
We must not just be.
We can't just be not racist.
Passively anti-racist. We must be
actively
anti-racist. Yeah.
With the hashtag BLM, Black Lives Matter and so forth.
Right.
Were you around when that tweet was going out? Was that could you give us a little backstory maybe?
So I was over on Spike's team at this point. So this was after my switch over. It was a direct quote from her speech that she gave.
And she was quoting a libertarian in that case too. Yes.
But that tweet lacked the context needed to make it very clear what she meant. So leading up to that point in her speech, she was talking about dismantling these systems of power and dismantling all of the bad parts of the criminal justice system that are racist, that disproportionately affect people of color in this country. She was talking about all of how libertarianism is inherently anti-racist and actively anti-racist. So whenever that tweet came out, people didn't understand that she meant by being libertarian and implementing libertarian solutions and doing this through policy, not like going out and smacking your racist neighbor. There was no context there, and there was no lead up to it. It was just put out there with nothing, and with the hashtag, which, like, it's not, I would have used the hashtag too, but I would have done it a little bit differently. Yeah, so that there's nothing technically wrong with the tweet. It's just it lacked the context that it really, really needed in that case.
Yeah.
Especially with that Twitter audience. So, like, I knew that Twitter audience fairly well at that point. I know that putting out a BLM tweet would not have gone over very well, and it didn't. Yeah, so it should have been handled a little differently. That whole thing could have been avoided very
Fair
easily.
enough.
She could have posted that on Facebook, and it would have been totally fine because Facebook has a different audience. But still, it lacked the context that was needed. Yeah.
I mean, I think
I can get into that, but yeah.
I know I can say that because you said you had switched over and you kind of moved over working with Spike at the moment. I came just a month after that, so I was there when that happened. In terms of like how, like, so I think what I can say is there were a lot of there was a team of people that were all contributing to making tweets. Well, at the moment I was managing the Twitter, there were I wasn't the only one that would like put up tweets. So.
You're basically saying it wasn't you.
It wasn't me, but here's the thing. I stand by it because I understood what it was, like, because I was in part of that. So I stand by, like, what had happened right when it went out is I had a lot of people contacting me because they'd known that I was working with the campaign. They're asking, I got all these responses, and I basically said, here's the thing. Similar to kind of what Caitlin said with the whole context thing, there just needs to be a lot more context. This is the actual message they're trying to get across. And even when I look at me, I didn't actually watch the speech, and then I watched the speech, and then I went, oh, so that was from there. And okay, that makes sense. So I explained this to people, and they said, oh, okay, that makes more sense now. So, but yeah, it was similar thoughts to kind of what Caitlin said, that the context, and I stand by kind of that tweet that went out. So
yeah, I know there was a follow-up tweet that I think you helped kind of at least brainstorm about to try and add some context.
Was my I guess I pushed for that to kind of clarify, and it's been interpreted in all sorts of ways as, quote unquote backtracking or anything. I consider it just to be adding clarification.
Right.
And I think it's important too is whether it's one of these things people might consider a gaffe or whatever, it's you don't want to like delete or like completely ditch that.
Right.
You just pivot back on course.
Sure.
You don't crash the ship. You just move the rudder a little bit. You don't have to. Yeah. You don't. Yeah. So. Yeah, that's it. So I don't know how much more, because I know because you were like, even you were reaching out to me, and you were saying like this was like heard across the world.
Yeah. The Libertarian Party in the UK, because I'm a member here. I'm in the private chat with the leadership, with a couple of the leaders and stuff, and they're kind of like, we're not sure we want this person coming to talk at the convention. I've reached out to their people. I mean, it really kind of shook things up. And I mean, it's going to be the lasting point of her campaign. Tim Pool to this day is still making jokes about that tweet. about libertarians telling people what to do, right? So,
it was all the libertarian or even people who will monitor like libertarian stuff were all like going on talking about it. So,
So bringing it back, Caitlin, you've had an amazing experience working with these fantastic candidates in the U.S. Could you maybe, in terms of your experience, what was like a high point for you? And also, could you point at a low point that, let's start with the low point and end on a happy note sort of thing. What was the highs and the lows of this recent experience?
Oh, man. Okay. Well, okay. So the low point was, and it kind of turned
the alligator?
into a high point. So it's kind of a double-edged sword, right?
Good.
So getting moved over to Spike's team, that was a low point for me. Just because it wasn't based on my performance. My performance was above any expectations. It blew everything out of the park. Like, my numbers were way beyond anything that they had ever expected. It was over some very minuscule things that shouldn't have resulted in that result. But that's about as far as I can get into it. But yeah, getting moved over to Spike's team for small reasons was kind of a low point for me. But it turned into a high point because working for Spike has been the highlight of everything. Like, I love working for him. I love messaging for him. I love not being as restrained as I was before. Messaging wise, like, I kind of just do my own thing. Like, obviously within reason. Like, I know the limits that Spike has, so I can work within those constraints. But like, I absolutely love working for him. So it turned into like a very cool blessing in disguise. The high points was turning a page with 1,400 followers into a page with 250 in 3.5 weeks.
250,000.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. I was about to say that was less.
Like,
right.
Yeah, no.
A quarter of a million.
So
quarter of a million.
1,400 to 250,000 in 3.5 4 weeks.
This is his Facebook page, I assume.
That was her Facebook page.
Of her Facebook page. Oh, good job. Congratulations.
Yeah, and her Twitter from like 400 followers to, what was it when we left? Like
15,000?
90,000.
Wow.
Yeah.
Like 80, it was like 89, 90,000 around there.
Yeah, it was
I remember, because you had me on board around like 2000, I think. Yeah. And then as soon as like pretty much I stepped in like, and right as the election, the nomination happened, and that first 24 hours was just taking off. You gotta love a lot of the fun little moments, the little inside jokes we've got about a lot of things.
Yes.
But are we getting her on Joe Rogan? Joe Rogan, by the way.
I am funny.
Listeners, you should have seen her expression when he said that, and I do have a little backstory on that. But Caitlin, you want to just kind of explain what that's about? And then we'll come to like a quick fire round before we let you go.
So when I was running Joe's Media, I was getting all of the messages on the Facebook page. I also ran 2 Facebook groups that were part of the campaign. There would be 45 posts in the groups a day and at least 30 to 40 messages to the page every single day. Have you considered going on Joe Rogan? It's like, dude. I don't know why these people think that they are the first ones to think of this.
Yeah. I think
everyone's an expert.
Right, like immediately post nomination, when you had me start doing your Twitter, I think I put out a tweet about it. I put in all the paperwork to like basically, send him the contact info and everything. And then we were like, we did it. We did what we're doing. We're good. And then after that, it was just, it's still.
Well, the problem was a lot of the supporters went crazy and started harassing him on social media. Now, if anyone has ever listened to Rogan, that is a surefire way to never get on his show. So I fairly successfully put a stop to it after a little while, because I just kept telling people, I was like, you have to stop this. Like, she will never get on the show if you don't leave him alone.
Yes.
So yeah, and then after I got switched over, someone on the new team told everyone, "Oh yeah, no, keep bothering Rogan." So
Really?
yeah,
and I think there was even like, and this is all public, so this was actually said on the floor of the national convention. Someone tried to suggest it as a delegate. I don't remember who, but someone tried to say like, could we move as a convention to reach at night? No, and I saw that and I was
Wow.
like, again, but this is the thing, is it's become like just kind of this running gag. There's a profile picture going around just as a joke, as a meme, of Joe Jorgensen with Joe Rogan's face. So it's Joe Roganson. It will haunt your dreams for at least the entire election.
yeah.
So
Caitlin, I know we're running out of time with you. So just very quickly, what's the future? What are you working? I know you're doing Vermin Supreme. Where are you going? Where are we going to have, the next couple of years? What are you planning?
Vermin Supreme will be my my primary gig going forward. So I'm gonna have about 5 different media channels, like 5 different brands basically under Vermin Supreme, and each of those having all of the different social media channels. So it's going to be a pretty big job. I'm also going to be working on a state rep campaign in Kentucky, governor race in Massachusetts in 22, and we'll see going into 24. We don't really know what's going on with that yet, but I also still do like freelance consulting for people. I'm still going to be working with Spike, because he is part of the Vermin Supreme family. So I'm still going to be working with him quite a bit. We have a couple projects that we're talking about that might get started after the election. So I'm going to be doing that. And yeah, I'm sorry.
no, you're good.
The job for running president and vice presidential social media was a really big boost for my resume. It was a wonderful experience. I learned a lot, and I'm excited to take that into the next chapter. So
Fantastic. And make sure and give our boy Amos here, a little piece of that glory when you can.
Yeah, I'll just become another, glorious libertarian podcaster. But anyway, so thanks again for coming on, Caitlin. I know we had some and it's totally understandable with schedules and such. Like, you're really, really busy, and I think people can more than understand with you yawning on the show that you're very. It's
for our
all
listeners.
for listeners that are like, why is she? You're working a lot, and you're working on 2 projects now.
to put it in perspective, I went to sleep at 7:15 this morning. So yeah.
Right. There we go.
Woke up at 11.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Good job.
But thanks again for coming on. We'll have to. Well, I'll obviously be seeing you next week.
Mm-hmm.
We're at the election night shindig.
That's
going to be a libertarian event. Oh, that's going to be a lot of drinking.
Lit, fam.
It's going to be so. Thanks again for coming on, Caitlin. We'll let you go here. We've got some stuff we'll talk about. Yeah.
All right.
It's been
Well,
an
thank you
absolute
for having
pleasure.
me.
Yeah.
Yeah, you too.
Try to get some rest today. I know you probably won't, but try to get some rest today.
I will give it a solid go. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. You guys have a good day.
Well, yeah.
Thanks
we'll
again,
see you,
Caitlin. Take care.
Bye.
All right.
Fantastic.
Yes.
I'm glad that she was able to give us the time that she did. She's been so
a little
busy.
bit more than what she said she'd do, so we're good there.
Yeah, man. We got about what, 40 minutes, 45 minutes.
Yeah.
Do you want to, okay, no break for washing your balls, or we're moving right on?
Yeah, we're moving right on. The mid-show washing your balls ad, I think, kind of is just probably not something I think at least we'll obviously talk about it, but
we'll see what happens.
Now
Brian is like, yeah, time for the sponsor spot. Brian, you're not our producer, bro. He just took it back.
Exactly. So,
there has been a lot of developments in U.S. politics in the last couple weeks.
So, I'll show everyone this. Man, can I? I'm just making sure if there's any information. Oh, here we go. Okay. So,
for the listeners, he's about to hold up his
ballot.
His ballot.
So yeah. And this is totally legal to show, as long as there's not like other voters in the picture. So,
and I'm not voting, so it's all good.
No, like, in case there's like someone gonna bust down the door. So this is my ballot here. I'm blocking out the part that would show kind of where I am. But anyways, so on this side here shows all the presidential candidates, and at the very bottom, of course, I think I can show. Yeah, I can show that. The very bottom here, I have.
Can't see that. There you go.
I have voted for Joe Jorgensen and of course Spike Cullen.
And to legalize cannabis as well. Excellent. Yes, brilliant.
So yeah, and then you can see some of that. So and I'll tell everyone this is typically how I vote nowadays. Is I'll vote for Libertarian first, and then if there isn't some sort of legalized cannabis, legalized weed party.
Yes.
And then after that, Republican.
Yeah, that's a good track record.
And then now there's other positions in here, certain like state offices, like mayor. Now, and I looked into this. I wanted to make sure I could do this. I left actually some parts on the ballot blank because it was all just incumbents with no contested elections.
Right.
And they were judges, so I was like,
doesn't really make sense wasting a vote.
Well, yeah. So it's funny. There's actually one here where there's like an associate justice, and there's someone voting, running against them. I just voted for the non-incumbent. Kind of like
you didn't write your name on the ballot. You could do write-in. No, Amos Joe gets one vote.
Judge. Yeah, that's what I want.
Yeah.
So, and the way they have it right now is like you have your ballot, you fill it out. There's like there's so many different, there's a thing here with information on that I would fill out. I'm covering that up, by the way. Information that I put it in one end. Well, I put it in this envelope, ballot envelope, to then include this other envelope, to then put it all into this envelope.
Brilliant. Excellent.
Yeah, it's really funny how that all is working. It's like you put your ballot in your envelope to put into your other envelope to then put into your last envelope to then send out.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it is a level of security. Make sure people are paying attention. And we know there has been some shenanigans about early mail-in voting.
There's already news coming out of like hundreds of thousands of ballots being thrown out already, I think.
Yeah, being rejected. Signatures haven't been matching. I don't know if you've looked at any of the early polling data and kind of seen, what kind of responses have been coming in or anything like that.
I haven't, no.
Okay. There are a couple websites that are doing analysis. I can't remember any of them off. I think Real American Politics.
It's not like they can get like the actual ballot count.
No. But they can say like how many early votes from each party plus the unaffiliates have come in. It doesn't mean that every Democrat is voting Democrat. It doesn't mean every Republican is voting Republican and the unaffiliated is whatever. But it's not looking good for the Democrats. It's really, yeah. So I think, for instance, in Florida, they needed at least 700,000 ballots from the Democrats to even have a chance at taking the state.
Right.
Because, they expect the in-person voting is going to be so high. And I think they've just dropped below 400.
I'm going to have you keep talking about that. I'm going to take a quick, 15-second.
Okay. Yeah. No problem. So yeah, with that, I think one of the guys was Real American Politics on YouTube, guys. So if you want to go and look at this, it's a young kid. And I think the other one is like Red Eagle Politics or something. And they're going through the analysis of all the different states. And they expect the Democrats to have a very early lead with the mail-in ballots and the early voting. But what they're finding out is that the margin of the lead that the Democrats have is so much smaller than the response that they're getting from the Republicans. And we expect a massive turnout of the Republicans on election day. It's looking very, very good for President Trump to get his possible. I'm not saying it's going to be a landslide, but it's looking very, very positive. And of course, the left is spinning it in the other direction. They're saying, well, look, Biden is ahead, but that's not how you analyze the early voting.
I mean, by my vote, I'm voting for who I want to win.
Yes,
but there is, you can have these different, what is it? Concurrent, I think is the word. Yeah, concurrent.
Right.
Views. It's like on one hand, it's like I'm voting for by what I feel. Someone lines up with my beliefs. But I'm seeing, the Trump versus just personally, I see the Trump in terms of Trump versus Biden. Trump kind of a 60-40 Trump to win.
I
even had I do have some people that I know that know a little bit about certain odds and stuff, and so we looked over for out of curiosity, we looked at the Vegas odds. It's pretty close.
Yeah, I think Trump is slightly ahead.
Yeah. And it depends on what system you're using to look at it. There's even some interesting bets, what is it? There's a difference between. Oh, okay. So here's what it was. The least likely scenario when it comes to popular vote versus electoral college. So they had bets on that.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the least likely scenario by Vegas was a Republican popular vote win,
right,
with a Democrat electoral win.
Interesting.
That was a very that was the least likely situation in this. I'd almost like to look at what their libertarian candidate odds are.
What are the odds? You could retire if that works out.
Yeah, that's you put $1 in and you retire the next day.
yeah, the odds would be astronomical. But I mean, speaking of the did you see the final debate with Biden
did. So,
and Trump?
I did get to watch it. In terms of decorum and actually being a proper debate compared to the first one, I actually liked it.
It was much better. President Trump actually showed up.
He had some points. Now, some people that I know that are more on the Biden side of things were trying to dismantle trying to break down some stuff, and I'm like, okay, cool. But I looked at it and I said, here's the thing, he's using some really good tactics to get people to really question Biden a lot.
Mm-hmm.
The whole, you've been in the Senate, you were the vice president, you didn't get any of the stuff that you want to do now done back then that you could have got done back then. And now you want to just all of a sudden I'm going to totally do this, guys. No, it's not how this works.
His use of that, and that is going to be the sticking point. And I think it's going to be a problem for pretty much every incumbent politician going into a presidential election, or at least in the foreseeable future. You've been in the Senate or the House for so long. And not only that, Biden was a vice presidential, candidate.
Mm-hmm.
He was, one person's separation from the seat of power. Why didn't you do any of this stuff? And
exactly.
I think that really resonated with.
Especially when the Democrats try to pick at a Dick Cheney and say, oh, look, he completely changed the role of a vice president, of how much power he exerted. And it's okay, why didn't you try that then?
Yeah, exactly. and let's be honest. Do we not suspect that the vice presidential Democratic candidate is going to be inflicting a lot of influence over the president if they win?
I think, yeah. So at the beginning, when we were talking to, I think it was just before the show. Maybe it was. Yeah, it was. We talked to Caitlin real quick, and I said, yeah, the Trump Harris
The
race,
Trump Harris, yeah.
and I didn't mean like Trump and Harris running together. I said
You thought they were the front runners.
yeah, and I was like Trump versus Harris, and then I thought, and then I didn't. It was just a slip, and I was like, but that's how it's gonna be.
That's how I think. What is this? Charlemagne the God or whatever his name is. He says he's voting for Kamala. He's voting for Harris. He's not voting for Biden. He's voting for Kamala.
Wasn't there that slip that Kamala had in some interview where she was like talking about her administration or
in
something?
a Harris administration? Even Biden has said it. Biden himself has actually said it in a Harris administration.
You know, I mean, say what think what you want. Like, okay, fine. I mean, if they're honest about it, fine. But it's just this is what it is.
Go ahead.
Oh, she like in this it is kind of that flip. Like you're seeing a lot of this, like sort of the energy, the oomph, the real push for sort of the activist energy in terms of a campaign is coming from Kamala.
Yeah,
it was not coming from Joe. Whereas with the Trump Pence ticket,
it's Trump all the way.
It's Trump all the way, yeah. And even and I can say it. Like the with the Jorgensen Spike ticket, Spike is very much this kind of the push when it comes to more of like the energetic side of the campaign.
Yeah, he is the more charismatic of the two, and that makes sense.
Yeah, but this is just kind of showing like it doesn't matter. Like you can have these types of tickets where it's the presidential candidate is not necessarily like the presidential candidate is more like the strong push of but they're not like in a they're like a steam engine, not a rocket, like a small rocket that's just kind of rushing to get things done. So
I'd say Biden is more like a weather balloon than anything else, but he's Sleepy Joe. I mean, I'm glad that somebody's obviously talked to Trump, and he, when they first announced that they were going to do this debate, and they talked about muting the mic, that to allow the other person to speak, obviously because Trump is just going to steamroll him. Mm-hmm. I think he learned his lesson, and this is what he didn't learn from the first one. And as I was saying, incumbent presidents always do bad in the first debate because you never know what they're going to come with. You can see now he's kind of pulling himself together and everything like that, and he let Biden talk. And when you let Biden talk, Biden shits the bed, right? Yeah, Biden buries himself.
There's a lot of things that happened there, and I liked. I like the say what you want about moderators that show bias and such.
Yeah,
she
was all right.
She was throwing out some stuff at to Biden to like, hey, sort yourself out, like get this figured out. Like, what do you think about this? Because she even addressed the argument, like, okay, so with your like 40 however long he's been in the Senate,
47 years
in the Senate, 8 years as a vice president, what have you done?
Yes.
Like why should people care about what you say you want to do now when you've done none of those things? And what I realized was, all the things he wanted to do that he just wants to do now that he didn't do during his entire time. The bigger point too is, okay, did he do nothing in those 47 years? In those 8 years? Of course not. He did a lot of things that is very contradictory to what he claims he wants to do now.
Correct. He sponsored the crime bills.
Yeah. For the Democrats. For the Democrats to be pushing for, sort of this like pro-immigrant, pro-BLM, pro sort of minority, the kind of thing. Not to say it's necessarily bad, but to then have this entire history before showing you don't support that you've actually people want to talk about the militarization of the police and police brutality and all this, when it's actually a lot of Democrats that have actually played into that. Like what was it? He called it like he wanted some cities that he was like voting on. He introduced some bills and he literally said, well, I don't want my children to be in like he called it like an urban jungle when he was
Yeah,
talking about
something like that.
like,
Very
he's
racist. Yeah, very racist statements.
you know, you ain't black.
Yeah, I mean,
And then
he-
even you heard
he
about 50
was-
Cent and Chelsea Handler?
yes. Well, we could
We'll
get on
touch on that in
that.
a sec, but yeah.
We'll get on that in a second. Yeah, so a couple of things from the debate that I thought was, I mean, obviously, absolutely well executed. It definitely when the fuck up at the end with Biden basically saying he's going to phase out fracking and oil and natural gas.
Oh, I saw that. The memes about this.
And
He's like,
yeah.
I'm going to phase out oil, and then the moderator just goes, "Why would you do that?
Why
And then
why would you do
caught
that?
Her face. Someone caught her face and did like an awkward zoom in. Like,
Yeah,
why would you do that?
it's kind of like, you don't admit that shit, man. And Trump is there like, do you hear that, Texas? Do you hear that, Pennsylvania? And what was great, I think I shared it with you and the guys and Corey in the private chat that we have. The Google search after the debate in Pennsylvania, can I change my vote? Skyrocketed as a search on Google. So I think there's a lot of buyer's remorse after that debate.
That is definitely a problem, I think, with this election right now, is for how many people have already voted before the debates have even concluded.
Yes.
And
I mean, there's some diehards. There's nothing you're going to change their mind about, and I get that.
Yeah.
You know, yeah.
Have you? Oh, that may have to be another show. We'll have to talk about that on our closer to election day episode.
Right.
But do we want to talk about the 50 Cent Chelsea Handler thing?
Yeah. We can get into that.
So 50 Cent, I think, along with maybe some other rappers too.
Yeah, 50 Cent was one. Who else? Do I know of any others? No, I think 50 Cent was the big one.
Yeah. So
yeah,
they're supporting Trump. I think after they found out about like the taxes that Biden wanted to put out there, because a lot of these taxes that Biden is pushing for is going to, I think this is a proper way to use it, disproportionately affect a lot of very rich and successful,
correct,
non-whites, basically.
Well, anybody making money, really.
Well, it's not. That was actually the wrong wording. Yeah, it's going to disproportionately affect.
You're not being anti-racist.
I'm not being anti-racist enough. It's going to disproportionately affect a lot of like rich and successful people. And surprise, not all rich and successful people are right wing.
Right, or white or whatever. They're not all billionaire.
Right.
Bezos
so 50
and stuff
Cent
like that
comes out and basically is showing support for Trump.
Yeah, so what ended up happening is they put out the tax plan. Now, a lot of these states, California, New York, and others, have additional income tax on top of your regular income tax that you pay to the federal government.
Jesus.
Right? So when you combine state taxes, income taxes, federal taxes, and everything, I think, and 50 Cent is in New York, if I'm not mistaken, his nominal tax rate would have been 62%, somewhere around there.
Oh,
and basically he said, what? I'm out.
You make $1 million, you keep 400,000, basically. Just under.
Well, it is progressive, right? So your first, I don't know, 10,000 is free, and then you pay 10%, 5%. But by the time you cross 400,000, it goes up to 62. So basically that's what he's saying. And he comes out and says, look, I want to be 50 Cent. I don't want to be 20 Cent. Right? I'm out. I'm done. I'm done. And then, okay, so, one of his ex-girlfriends was this Chelsea Handler. I didn't know shit about Chelsea Handler. There's a Netflix series that she did, and she showed her tits and stuff. And I was like, all right, cool.
She's basically like a more like a higher class Amy Schumer.
That doesn't say very much.
Exactly. But in terms like Amy Schumer, like her humor.
Oh, as a comedian, is she a comedian?
As a comedian, Amy Schumer, I think, is just trashy. Whereas Chelsea Handler tries to kind of like, throw $1 million on that trash to make it look nicer.
Right.
And so she was kind of like the talk show host person. So she was trying to kind of get her way into like to be among like the Conan, the Jimmy Fallon, the Jimmy Kimmel, like that sphere.
Yeah. She tried
She did some shows and stuff, and it just didn't quite hit. You know, she's definitely looking good for her age, but she's really trying to like push the, you know, look at my tits, look at my body, but you know, my empowerment still. And yeah, and I didn't even know she dated 50 Cent, but I guess she did. And I guess that he was on her show or something.
I don't know the detail. I got introduced to her. I think there was a Netflix series called like, you know, Chelsea Does Whatever. And it was like one of them was on psychedelics. And that's how I ended up realizing who she was. Yeah. So she did an episode on psychedelics. She did one on, I don't know, green energy, you know, all these kind of leftist causes and stuff. And yeah, then they gave her a talk show either on Netflix or one of these things. And it completely bombed. But nonetheless, she's 40 something years old. I mean, she still looks good. And hey, I don't mind if a woman wants to show me her tits. I'll watch, no problem. Skin off my back. It still looks pretty all right. So she makes this comment on Jimmy Fallon, the talk show.
Oh, okay. That's what it was.
Right. So, yeah. So it was on Jimmy Fallon. I think, yeah, it was Jimmy Fallon. Obviously some Skype interview or Zoom or whatever. And Jimmy Fallon brings up the thing about 50 Cent, knowing that the two of them kind of have a history. And she kind of retorts with the most condescending racist thing that you could possibly say, where she says to him, "Do I have to remind you that you're black?" And then she goes on to say, like, you need to get that sorted out. And if you do get that sorted out, you and I could have another swing around on, you know, the cock carousel, basically. She didn't say that on the show, but that's basically she's trying to convert, get him to change his vote. So my question is, bribing somebody for their vote is against the law. Does this constitute a bribe and a possible federal crime?
Yeah, it's.
I don't know. That's an interesting question.
Twitter just went after her. Like, really?
Yeah, as they should.
You're going to make this kind of claim, and this is what's going on right now. Is
this rich white Jewish woman telling a black man, "This is how you've got to vote."
One thing I'm noticing is like, so you remember like the 2016 shift, the shift for people that were like wanting the anti-establishment Trump, at least.
Yes.
They perceived him to be that. They were like, hey, he's coming around. Like you've talked about like the bull in the China shop, just trying to shake things up. So there's this huge shift of independent voters that voted for Obama in 2012 that are now switching over to Trump in 2016. Now here we are in 2020.
Yes.
I think there's definitely going to be some shifting. Like there's going to be some Republicans that like who are all aboard the Trump train that maybe are going to switch over to Biden. But I think there's in that exchange of the left and the right sort of shift of votes, there's going to be more coming from the left to sort of over to sort of not only compensate but also to still keep Trump sort of in that lead. So like in that exchange, so that your right wingers are going to leave to go to the left, or maybe just don't vote, or independent or whatever third party. But then you're going to have this huge swath of independents and left from people from the left that are going to more than make up for that loss of votes.
Oh yeah,
and even voting from home, I think, is going to encourage a higher participation.
I'm not entirely convinced of that. It's possible, but I completely agree that the more classical liberal perspective, people who would have like the classical Democrat, the Kennedy Democrats, they have basically been pushed out of the Democratic Party. There's no room for them. This is Bernie Sanders or Maoist party is basically all that's left on the political left.
Bernie Sanders, the AOC, the Ilhan Omar,
the radical far left,
and even
as far as American far left can go. That's become the party.
Yeah, and only the people that are in other positions of power, not necessarily influence. So AOC is in a position, I think, of influence, not necessarily power in the party.
Oh, she's probably going to run in 2024 or something.
No, I know, but I'm saying is like she has the influence, but not the power. So right now, the influence in the Democratic Party is this very left-leaning dogma.
Yes,
like this leftist dogma of, fringing on like full-blown socialism.
Yes,
and the people in power are kind of just there simply, I think, just by tenure. So
And
Biden, Harris, Pelosi,
Yes.
these people are in there simply by, what's her name? Feinstein.
yes, yes.
They're there simply by tenure.
This was the point I was going to make. When Trump got elected in 2016, there was the caucus of the Never Trumpers, right?
Yeah.
I can't remember any of these people's names. Nobody really gives a shit about. They all went over to this thing called the Lincoln Project, and it was I can't remember. It's not quite leftist, but the Democrats kind of applauded them for being anti-Trump. But these are the crooked Republican cronies. They're power hungry on corporate deals and wars and all of these kind of Bushite type conservative types. Or at least these were the pundits. That shift has happened, right? Those people abandoned the Republican Party and they're trying to do their own thing. Nobody likes them. Everybody hates them.
Yeah.
There's no integrity. And these people say they're going to be the renaissance to revive the Republican Party. The Republican Party is doing better than it's ever done before. So right. I think that shift, that the identity politics, social justice, far left extremism has booted out what would be the average Democrat, the average liberal, and there's nowhere else to go. I mean, well, there are places to go, but the right is absorbing a lot of that. And so, yeah, I think it's going to be a very interesting turnout.
You're going to have a new kind of protest vote for Trump.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's nowhere else to go.
Well, I'm saying, but you're going to have, it's not exactly the same as the 2016 protest vote that elected Trump, but it's a new kind that has a whole new, I think, I don't know, a whole fresh take behind it. They've seen what Trump has done. They've seen what the left has done.
Yes.
And they're like, oh, this is why the people in 2016 voted for this guy. So they start shifting on over to go vote for him.
Yeah. And you can see that the tactics haven't worked. Like one of the guys I was listening to made this most brilliant analogy. Is a black guy, and he was talking about how, the media keeps telling us that, the only reason that Trump got elected was because all of these white racist Nazi people came out in, big numbers and, voted him in. And then he spins around and says, where were these people when Obama was elected? You're telling me these white racist Nazis, white supremacist people, saw a black man about to become the president of the United States, and they didn't come out and vote him out. And then they saw him go up for re-election, and these white racist Nazi supremacists didn't come out and vote him out. But they come out for Trump, a white man. I was like,
yeah.
The narratives are falling apart. And I think,
the racism from the Democrats is coming out of the woodwork too.
Yeah. The racism from the Democrats, I think Trump's support amongst black and Latino voters is at record highs. Ridiculously the best showing for the Republican Party. So
have you listened
it's looking
to
good.
The new Rogan thing?
The new Rogan thing.
So the new Rogan, episode. So Kanye West.
No, I haven't seen it yet. I haven't seen the Kanye West episode yet.
I was 20, 30 minutes in, and I'm already I'm not gonna go and jump on the Kanye hype train. By the way, he is on my ballot. I didn't vote for him, but he's on the ballot here.
Oh, he is. He got on all 50 states.
No, no, he got on a hand. So the thing that the Libertarian Party really pushes for is ballot access.
Yes.
And so they've gotten on all 50 states in DC. Unfortunately, Kanye didn't get on all 50 states. But I didn't even know this. Do you know who his running mate is?
No, who's his running mate?
Michelle Tidball? I don't even know who that is.
I don't. I have no idea who that is. Is he affiliated with anyone, or is he just an independent?
Independent. So Michelle Tidball. I've never seen this person. There's not even photos of them together.
Yeah, why bother?
She's considered a biblical life coach.
Send me the name on our chat. I'll check it out. No, I don't know much. I don't know much about that.
Yeah, we'll have to look at that. That's gonna be. We'll have to do a breakdown, a election breakdown on our next show.
Yeah. I mean, what you missed in our conversation was some of the early voting that's coming in, and it's pretty evident that the Democrats are underperforming. It looks like Trump has got a clear path, and especially since Biden's fuck up, during the debate about banning oil, I'm pretty sure Pennsylvania and like some of the big states,
because you swings.
Yeah, your fracking is North Dakota, Pennsylvania, Texas, Nevada, Kansas. I think that whole row of middle states there. So yeah. Biden is not looking so good. And plus the scandal with, his son, Hunter Biden, and all of this stuff that's come out, and they impeached Trump over a phone call where there was no evidence to support what was going on. But here we have actual evidence plus a whistleblower, which was their business partner, coming out and saying, yes, we got money from China, we got money from Russia, we got money with these deals, and Joe Biden got a cut through his son. His son was basically acting as the intermediary as well as his brother. Crickets from the mainstream media. Crickets. They were pushing the Russian dossier and impeachment for 3 years on nothing but nonsense. Crickets. Absolutely insane.
At least be fair, but
I don't know if you saw that. What was his name? Stelter on CNN got called out by some journalist, and she basically said that is like, you've been, where is the media exposure on all this Hunter Biden stuff? And Stelter's like, well, we have to verify the information. And she's like, you had the Steele dossier and all this other nonsense on no evidence, but now you have integrity.
Yeah. Oh man.
It's so funny. It's so funny.
Yeah. So one, I think we'll have to. This one's a bit interesting. So I just learned the other day too. We'll touch on this. Amy Coney Barrett got confirmed.
Yes,
so
she did.
Well, okay. So to be clear, so the Judiciary Committee confirmed her. So she then gets moved over to the Senate to officially
for a vote. Yeah.
It's like an official confirmation. But
I think the Democrats protested, right? They didn't even show up at the end or something. I didn't. Yeah.
Did we talk about her in our last episode?
No. I think we had a guest last episode, didn't we?
We did. We had TJ. That's right. Okay.
TJ,
I'm just trying to.
Yeah. So I know you got to fill in the gaps.
Did you watch some of the confirmation? Like the
I didn't. I saw a lot of the highlights where they were asking some fucking ridiculous questions.
Yeah. So Senator, I think, Senator from Hawaii, who got to talk to her, started to call her out on the weirdest stuff. Started like trying to ridicule her because she talked about sexual preference.
Yes, I saw that. And saying
how
that's
sexual preference is an offensive term. Guess what happened?
What?
After that? 18 hours later, the Merriam-Webster website redefined the term sexual preference in line with the leftist idea.
Wow.
That's some people tell me that's some 1984. But
it's not the first time, because Oxford Dictionary did the same thing about racism. So we know the leftist idea of racism is prejudice plus power.
Yeah. Not just prejudice, period.
Right, based on a person's skin color sort of thing. Yeah. Some girl wrote to Oxford, and these leftist loons there decided to change the definition to it doesn't exactly allow for it, but it's definitely more flexible.
Yeah.
You're damn right. Definitely. Yeah. New speak, Brian. That was just what I was about to say.
So there was that, but the questions, like, I think was it Cory Booker tried?
I was about to say Cory Booker.
Asked a dozen times, like, "Hey, will you but separating children from, and putting children in cages, and I'm not 100% on what judges can and can't say when it comes to some of these things, but I can't help but agree with her response and the fact that there's so much the senators were trying to just goad her into political views. Yeah, and it's like, it's not like, because this is what I pointed out. So they tried to get her to talk about the peaceful transition.
Mm-hmm.
So will you support a peaceful transition of power? And it's like, first off, that's not her job, unless a case comes before her.
Yes.
So you can't give an opinion on something that she's hypotheticals and all this. And someone was like, don't you always do hypotheticals in school? Yeah, it's different though. Yeah. Learning and using hypotheticals versus acting as a public official and talking about hypotheticals are very different. Because then you could just hypothetically say anything you want.
Yeah, exactly.
But the so many times they're trying to pull her in and they're like, oh, because she won't answer, because she doesn't have the balls. And it's like, no, she can't talk about this.
Correct.
It's the same reason why, the Supreme Court cannot clap or get up or anything at the State of the Union address.
Yeah.
I bet you they can't even nod. They just have to sit there.
They're not supposed to, yeah.
Yeah,
just take it.
Just be stoic.
Take it, bitch.
Completely. Yeah. And that's the thing. Like, unless there's a case or the Supreme Court is called upon to intervene in like a transition of power in case of some sort of electoral dispute or controversy, that's one thing.
Yes.
But to just completely would you support, like, it's not the question is not, would you support a peaceful transition? It's, would you support using your power to condemn Trump if there's a controversy to arise and you're forced to, like, just disregard, like, basically circumvent an investigation to force a new president through? Because that's what's probably going to happen.
Possibly.
The whole thing, because people were trying to, like, point out, and I understand why they feel this way. Is that people are pointing out, like, well, yeah, Trump wouldn't say that he would go along with a peaceful transition.
Yeah.
And I said this, well, yeah, if he said yes, would you support a peaceful transition, President Trump? Yes. The moment this election, the contention over this election's results starts coming up, the recounts, the investigation into the thrown out ballots, into mail-in, all the things that are going to come up, obviously, the possibility of allowing people to change their votes, all this stuff, the post office, a lot of these things that are going to arise, the moment, because all that's going to come up, so there's going to be investigations all the way up till January.
Yes.
And they're going to be like, no, but you said you would support a peaceful transition. They're going to try to hold that against him and say, no, you're supposed to go with it. He goes, no, we have an investigation to do.
Yeah.
No, you said you'd support it. So he says, we'll see. His we'll see, to me at least, I interpret it as, we will see, because there's going to be he's essentially saying there's going to be a shit show in this election. So we will have to see what happens.
Exactly. It's not that he says if there's no impropriety and 150% of the vote in one particular place comes in for some reason, when you have impropriety and stuff like that, yes, of course he should investigate. We had that with 2000 with Bush and Gore, and it went to the Supreme Court because we couldn't get a decision out of Florida. Right. This is how it works. And Gore didn't concede. Bush didn't concede. It wasn't a peaceful transition of power. I don't think it's going to be a problem, though. I don't think it's going to be a problem. I think Trump's pretty much got it.
But this is the
political game that they're playing.
And so I was like, so people were like, well, he should have just said yes. It's like, well, if he said yes, they would try to use that against him.
Yeah, exactly.
So, but he also knew if he said, let's see, they're going to use that against him too.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's nothing that Trump can say.
It's a no win.
Gonna win.
It's the Kobayashi Maru for Trump.
Yeah.
when dealing with the media.
Yeah. I mean, I wanted to say one thing about the Cory Booker interview with for ACB. The most ridiculous question that came out: would you condemn white supremacy? To a woman who has adopted 2 Haitian black children. And I mean, of course, he has to make a political standing point, as if Trump hasn't condemned white supremacy and all these other things.
The hearings have nothing to do with the judges. It has to do with senators being virtue signaling.
Exactly. It's all politicking throughout. It was all about Obamacare, which isn't even, there's no case coming up presently with Obamacare. Scaremongering, racism, and all this other nonsense. So yeah, and it's all illegitimate. Every Democrat says, "Oh, this whole process is illegitimate." No, this is how the Senate works.
Well, technically, if you want to get, again, you want to get real technical about it, hearings didn't happen before.
Correct. You don't have to do hearings.
Yeah. I think it used to be presidents would just appoint and be done with it.
No, I think there was always a vetting. Well, what is the amendment that does that? I can't remember. But yeah, you're probably right. It's only been around for like 100 and something years.
There were processes before this that didn't turn into such like just a political virtue signal,
Yeah.
Circle jerk, just to be honest.
Yeah, pretty much. And that was what it was. The Democrat senators dumped on Trump. The Republican senators know they got the votes and they were trying to, give her props and whatever.
Yeah. This is what I like about Supreme Court judges. They can't talk about these things. They're not allowed to get involved. Their job is very, very like tunnel vision. They have this one job. And I like how they'll use, she'll quote Ginsburg back to them.
Yeah, exactly.
Say what you want about Ginsburg being this progressive hero and all this, and a lot of people can disagree with her. She understood what being a judge meant.
Correct.
She was, she was a good judge. I don't agree, but I don't agree with some opinions yet.
Some of her decisions, yeah.
Yeah, but she was a good judge. She understood the role of being a judge and being in the court.
Correct. I'd agree with that.
And
it definitely was a circus.
But they, that's the talk of packing the court and all this stuff. Oh man.
Which, I mean, again, Trump tried to get those kind of things out in the debate, which I think are legitimate questions. And of course, Biden didn't answer it in the first debate. And in the second debate, I have to say, he just looked so weak. He just kind of, like the light behind his eyes are fading, it's just kind of, it did not put across any kind of confidence. And I think it was after the second debate was when his black and Latin American vote popularity skyrocketed. As I say, right now, 46%. A Republican has never got that kind of support from the black community in the history of their polling.
Yeah.
But the alternative is not looking great. And a lot of people don't like Kamala.
I will touch on something else that's really interesting.
Yeah.
And I know we've talked a little bit about this off air too, but I think it's kind of beyond just kind of I guess my personal take on my personal interest involved in this. But so there's this guy that I watch on YouTube. His channel is called Meet Kevin.
Okay.
He's a real estate investor, but he looks into a lot of like the markets. But one thing he's really looking into, I think he's gotten popular over the pandemic, was he'll follow the a lot of the stimulus bills, a lot of the relief efforts coming out from the government, and he has very clearly shown himself to try to be like, I don't take a side. I'm just telling you what is being said and how people are doing it. Yeah. And I gotta think, this guy's probably a libertarian or something, or has very strong libertarian views, because eventually he just came out to point out right now. I mean, here we are, like a week and a couple of days away from the election, and there's no relief of any kind up for passing.
Yeah.
I think there was like was it Mnuchin, Kudlow, like there was a bunch of other like like other people in other organizations involved, like working with the House and the Senate to like work out a deal.
Yeah.
And it has essentially been proven pretty much beyond a shadow of a doubt. Like Pelosi is like, we want to work out a deal.
Yeah. But
we won't pass it because it will be a victory for Trump.
Exactly.
Even if all the demands of the Democrats are met. They want a lot of relief for like schools and families and stuff.
Yeah, illegal aliens, a couple.
Yeah, and then Trump just wanted checks to go out.
Yeah, So give them a clean bill and not all this other stuff. Don't try to politicize.
So they came up with a package that meets them. That's basically a good compromise for the two, and she's just stalling on it.
Yeah. This is the game.
And people are kind of pointing that out as perfect timing. Vote him out then for this bullshit.
Yeah. We had the Kavanaugh effect that has affected the Senate. I'm hopeful that a lot of these crazies in the House also get voted out. So let's see what happens. It's going to be an interesting couple weeks.
Yeah, I'll just be getting drunk in Dallas.
Good man.
So next, we'll have our show next week, and then afterwards, I'll be heading on down to Dallas to attend the Jorgensen campaign shindig, I guess, party celebration. Get drunk and try to forget the election. Anything else we want to touch on quick?
No, I think those are the big ones, man. We've had a long day.
We definitely have.
Yes, we have. Well, I have.
Your day is just ending. Mine's just started. So
yeah. Thankfully, the times have changed, so I get an extra hour. So it's only 5:30 now. Or 5:30. Normally it's 6:30, and we're wrapping it up.
Yeah, we're getting that change sometime. I don't know. Next month.
I think y'all change on the 1st of November. You guys switch over.
Oh fuck.
So we got a week of where.
So I'll get a little extra sleep for when we do our show then.
Yes, in theory. Well, I don't know if you're keeping the times for your D&D games the same, but yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, the same.
Okay, yeah, cool.
That's another fun little topic. We're still doing that. I've just been trying to set up and seeing if I could, since the pandemic is starting to lift a little bit, I guess. I don't know. Hopefully, with winter, it's probably there's gonna be a resurgence, I think.
Well, yeah, definitely.
We're gonna go into a whole new lockdown.
Like where I am now.
Yeah. So, I think we're good. So, thanks for everyone for joining us. Real quick before we go, of course, wash your balls.
Wash your balls.
If you do want to support the show, we do thank you for joining us today. We do like to ask you to like the video, leave a comment, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Check us out on all of our podcasting platforms that we're on, which is pretty much all the popular ones. So if you don't find us on one, you could probably move over to another one and you'll find us there more than likely. We're on the major ones. Amazon, Google, Apple, a few other ones, Spotify. So do check us out there. Share the episode with anyone you think that'll enjoy it. And of course, check out our previous episodes. If you want to support us in any way beyond just the initial subscription and likes and all that, do check out tacticalsoap.com to get 10% off on all the good soaps that you can get. I got the 6-pack. So it's got the first set and then the second set of the new ones. So they're good soap. They the chemicals that are in it don't interfere with any production of certain hormones. It's just natural stuff that actually cleans well too. It's not just good for your body. It also cleans really well. It's not gooey, essential oil, whatever nonsense. Well, I don't know, but 10% off you get when you use the coupon code 10K Rum. That's 10K RUM. That and then a little bit goes to us for that. Also check out our Subscribestar, subscribestar.com/shitlord-preachers, where you can tune in to our raw takes for $5 a month, or you can just join our Discord for $1 a month. And then our 10 and 25 include shout outs, and of course shout out to Mundo for our $25 a month shout outs, and sort of we give you credit for supporting us, of course, on the show. But those are going to be developed more and more as we go forward. Definitely going to be more content there. I was thinking about, I always talk about this. Every now and then I'll just say shirts.
Yeah, merch.
Then I'm like, nah, I haven't made it yet. So Gonna have to work on that soon. So we do thank everyone for joining us. Of course, we will. We don't have a guest, but we will see everyone next week.
There we go. Thanks for watching, guys.